So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining. My name is Norma, and I'll be the host for this event. So, we are attending, or this event is just the BaseStack live show where the Cohort 1 participants are going to be sharing their projects, as well as we would also learn how to start careers in cloud computing. So it's a pleasure, and I know we're all going to have a swell time together. So again, good afternoon, and I look forward to an amazing time with everyone. Thank you. Next slide, please. For the presentation, for this session rather, it's just going to be 1 hour, 40 minutes, 1 hour, 40 minutes event. And so we're going to be very, very punctual. We're going to be very, very prompt with the timing. So to our presenters, we encourage you to still stick to time in whatever thing you are doing. So the next slide, we're going to be going straight to the opening remark, and this is going to be handled by the program coordinator, Daniel Akinrimandi, the program coordinator of BaseStack Academy. So thank you very much, Daniel. You have the floor to give the opening remark.
All right. Thank you very, very much for that, Numa.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Whether you are one of our students, a cohort member about to walk across this virtual stage, or you're someone in a career moving to tech, or you're just here because you're curious about what the cloud, it means, you are in the right place. My name is Daniel, and I'm the programs coordinator here at BaseStack Academy. And for those just joining for the first time, BaseStack Academy is a tech education platform. Right now, what that means is that we are a cohort-based AWS cloud training platform built on one belief. You don't become a cloud engineer just by watching tutorials. You become one by building. And when I say building, you is fixing them and building them again until it works. That is our belief. And I want to give you a sense of what that actually looks like. For this cohort, the first cohort, we had about 470 people applied for just 100 free slots, and about 80 of them showed up for day one. And by the end of the program, 53 of them were still standing, graded everything against the full requirements, the daily labs, the quizzes, the weekly assessment, and the capstone project itself. Only 20 of them met the bar to earn certification. Now, that is the real shape of this program. It is not built to be easy. It is built to produce, people who can actually do the work. And today's showcase is proof of that idea in action. Because over the next 1 hour and 40 minutes, we are going to be seeing real AWS projects built from scratch by our students in this squad, not just toy demonstrations, but working systems solving real problems. And you also hear from professionals who have actually built careers in this space, and you're going to get the chance to ask them anything live. So here's my ask for this session. I want you to stay curious, take notes when something clicks, and don't hold back your questions, because this session works best when it's a conversation, not a lecture. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand things back over to Neoma to get us started. I want us to all enjoy the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you very much, everybody, for paying rapt attention. So, I know Daniel mentioned that there were only out of 100 slots that were given. They were just a 20% completion. Yes, the completion rate was actually 20%, and I was one of the 20%. So I mean, it's something that I put in effort. We all put in effort into this whole program. So it was a 10-week training, and it was quite intense. And I'm very grateful for the entire experience. So thank you very much, Daniel. And again, I encourage everybody to jot down all the lessons, everything that's going to be shared within the course of this session. And I look forward to that amazing time again. So next slide, please. The next agenda on our session is going to be a presentation from two of our cohort members, Salimat Akinwade and Simeon Siaka. So they are going to be telling us the cloud behind our favorite apps. So this presentation is just them sharing an introduction to cloud. So if you've just been hearing cloud, this is the time to understand what cloud really means. So Simeon and Salimat, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much, Neoma. Good afternoon, everyone. Please permit me to share my screen. Okay, please, can everyone confirm that they can see my screen? Okay,
Yes,
thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon once again, everybody, and thank you for having me here today. So I'm quite sure that about 90% of people on this call, right, have either made a transfer on OPay, booked a boat ride, or maybe even watched something on Netflix within the last 24 hours, right? So by the end of this session, we're going to have an idea of what happens during any of these sessions or transactions or movies sessions, basically. My name is Salimat, and I'll be co-presenting this session with Simeon. So I believe that when most people think of the cloud, right, they picture this blue and white fog that is on my screen, right? So I would like to let us know that the cloud behind our apps is an actual building with lots of wires, stable internet, stable electricity, and actual humans that are behind these systems. So OPay does not own the cloud. They just own like a fraction of that space in somebody else's cloud. And this could be AWS or Azure or Google Clouds. So for this session, we're actually just going to be going over what the cloud is, how it handles millions of people simultaneously, how the humans keep these systems alive, and why this actually matters for startups here in Africa. Okay, like I said earlier, your files don't just float into the sky. If you're sending a WhatsApp message, it is not just flowing into the sky or floating somewhere in the sky. So it travels through cables into a secured building that is filled with servers. So when you send a file on WhatsApp or you're transferring money on OPay or Kuda, it hits a server many kilometers away. This could be in the US, it could be in South Africa, it could also be in Abuja here in Nigeria, right? So your transaction gets verified or your WhatsApp message gets verified and the money either moves or these files get sent, all within few seconds, so you don't even notice anything or any glitch whatsoever. Okay, so the cloud is actually made up of three major components. We have this compute, we have the storage, and we have networking. So compute is basically the brains behind these transactions or behind the cloud itself. So when you try to log into your OPay app or you're trying to check your balance on Kuda or something like that, permit me to use OPay again. So compute is the one that performs all these underlying actions so that this transaction seems seamless, right? It goes fast and you won't really notice anything. If you're trying to log into your Netflix app, all these things go on within milliseconds. So storage is where everything lives. Your Netflix watch history, your transaction receipts, all these are sitting in a physical database somewhere and they are stored securely behind the cloud. So basically, networking is the route that ties all of this together. Once your data is found, it has to travel from that building to your screen fast enough so that you don't have to notice anything happening. So basically, if you're trying to send a message to somebody or send money to somebody, it leaves your phone, goes to the server, and from the server goes to that person's account seamlessly. You won't really notice anything. Okay, so I'd like us to picture a betting app, right? Let's use SportyBet, for instance. We know it's the World Cup season, right? And so many people are placing bets for their favorite teams or the teams they believe would win, right? So, and we know that many people will be on the site at the same time. We know that this will cause a lot of traffic, right? There will be so much glitch or something like that if it is not handled properly. Here is where the cloud comes in. It helps to scale up to accommodate all these people simultaneously. And when the World Cup is over and people go to sleep or maybe fewer bets are being placed, the cloud has the ability to scale back down So it doesn't just sit there consuming compute power or storage space when it is not needed, right? So this same thing also happens to our banking apps on payday, let's say on the 25th, or maybe during the day when transactions are being made, market women and all of that. It happens, and the cloud has the ability to scale up and scale down compared to when it is nighttime and people are not really performing transactions, right? This process is called elasticity, and it is why your apps usually stay up and why services aren't charged as much as you would actually expect. So the infrastructure keeps these things running, but these servers don't run themselves. Simeon is going to tell you about the humans behind the screen and how the services are kept alive. So over to you, Simeon.
Okay, thank you, Salimat, and good afternoon, everyone. So far, we've talked about servers, cables, and data centers, but here's something important. Technology doesn't take care of itself. Behind every app you use, whether it's your WhatsApp, your Netflix, your banking apps, there are people making sure these services keep running 24 hours a day and every day of the year. Now, let's look behind the cloud. Let's look at your banking app as an example. When you check your bank balance or you send money, your personal information is not just floating everywhere on the internet. Imagine it's stored inside a private, heavily guarded room. Only the bank application has the key to enter that room. But security doesn't stop there. The room is always being watched constantly by automated systems, like a security guard that never blinks. If someone tries to log in from a strange location or you have an unusual number of failed payments, the system notices it immediately and can respond within seconds. So when someone says the cloud is secure, they don't just mean it's locked, they mean it's constantly monitored. Now, here's the question. When something does go wrong at 2 a.m. in the morning, does an engineer need to wake up for every tiny problem? Actually, no. Most small issues are handled automatically. If the service stops unexpectedly, the system often will start on its own. It's like when you're offing your phone and only when the alarm freezes. No human needs to get involved. But if something serious happens, something that the system cannot fix by itself, that's when alarms are triggered. An engineer who is on call receives an alert wherever they are and they start investigating the problem. Many times, they already fix the issue before users even realize anything happened. That's the beauty of modern cloud systems. Machines handle the routine work, humans handle the critical decisions, and it's a partnership between automation and people. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Years ago, if you wanted to start a bank or you want to have a startup, you need millions of naira just to build a data center. You have to buy servers, construct the building, install cooling systems, hire teams to maintain everything. Today, companies don't have to do that. A digital bank like Kuda can rent computing power from the cloud providers and simply pay for what they use. Think of it like electricity. Most of us don't just build our own power station. We simply pay for the electricity we consume. Cloud computing works in a similar way. And that what makes it possible for a small African startup to compete with companies that have been around for years. Instead of spending money on buildings and hardware, they spend it on building better infrastructure, better products for their consumers. If any part of today's session has inspired you to explore technology, let me leave you with one piece of advice. Don't wait for the perfect course. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until you have the perfect plan. Pick a small project, build it, put it online, let it break. You'll run into errors, permissions won't work, the implement will fail. You probably wonder why nothing is working. That's normal. That's exactly how we engineers learn. No amount of reading will replace the experience of solving a real problem. Find a community, keep building, break things, fix them, repeat. Every expert you admire started exactly the same way. And that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I hope the next time you upload a photo, order a ride, or transfer money on your phone, you have a better idea of what happens behind the scene. Enjoy the Student Life Showcase and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Simeon. Thank you very much, Salimat, for that brilliant presentation. I think that our audience are already catching the glimpse of what actually goes on behind the cloud. Before now, I mean, I used to be so curious about it. I used to be so curious. I'll be like, when I just send money, how does OPE just immediately confirm this thing, right? Is it that somebody is there to just click okay, send, right? But then just being in this whole setting, learning about the cloud, I'm able to understand what actually goes on. And also I like that you touched on on reasons why companies actually use the cloud. It is secure, it is reliable. You don't need so much money to like set up, even though you still need like funds, but it is not compared to when you rent physical servers, physical computers, and all of that. So I can see that it is cheaper, it is secure, and there's something that Salimat mentioned, which is an elasticity. So it's able to scale up and scale down that if there are a lot of users at the same time, right? And then another thing that I also learned is you get to pay for what you use, right? You get to pay. So it's more like a pay as you use system. So I think it's a very, very brilliant technology. And I think everybody should learn or rather understand what the cloud is about. So because I just believe that it's the future. Right, the future is now, so you just have to learn cloud. So thank you very much, Salimat and Simeon, for that brilliant presentation. Another touch, or rather another tip is Salimat and Simeon, they were actually part of the cohort 1-2. So they learned from the academy, and it's only right that they are giving back to the academy. So thank you very much again for sharing your wealth of knowledge. So I think we're moving to the next agenda, which is the panel session. We have, Daniel, could you put up the screen? Could you put up the slides? Yeah, so we have two panelists, and we're going to be having very enriching conversations about careers in cloud, about the future of digital technology, and we have two panelists, which are Tolani Akintayo and Adobe Wandu. So Tolani Akintayo is a cloud and DevOps platform engineer and educator focused on helping the next generation of engineers build strong foundation in cloud and DevOps through practical and real-world learning. So Tolani specializes in cloud infrastructure, automation, CI/CD, which is continuous integration and continuous delivery, and system design. And Stolani emphasizes on how production systems are built. So production system is just real world, right? How these things are built in the real engineering environment. Through teaching, mentorship, and technical writing, he helps aspiring engineers move beyond surface level tool usage into deep system thinking and real-world engineering capabilities. Tolani's work is centered on developing engineers who can design, build, and operate scalable and reliable cloud systems with confidence. So with a virtual round of applause, let's just welcome Tolani to the stage, as well as I'll also read Adobe, that's our second panelist. I'll also read her bio. So Adobe is a practicing cloud engineer with a strong foundation in customer success and technical operations, with a unique background that blends client-facing expertise and deep technical curiosity. She has successfully transitioned into cloud engineering, where she now focuses on building, deploying, and managing scalable infrastructures. Her journey into cloud computing is driven by audacity, discipline, and a commitment to continuous learning. Adobe has developed practical experience working with cloud native tools, containerization, and infrastructure management, and she's passionate about simplifying complex concepts for beginners. Beyond her technical work, she's the creator of a practical cloud engineering guide designed to help aspiring engineers navigate the often overwhelming path into tech. Through this, she empowers others to take actionable steps towards building sustainable careers in cloud engineering. Adobe is particularly interested in bridging the gap between non-technical backgrounds and cloud careers, and she enjoys sharing her journey, lessons learned, and strategies that have helped her grow in the field. Thank you very much, Adobe, and we are so happy. We are so happy to have you, and we look forward to a very, very enriching conversation with you and Tolani. Just to be sure, is Tolani on the call now? Daniel, do we have Tolani now? Mhm.
I don't see him on the
Okay,
list
he's
yet.
yet to join. So I think we'll start off the conversations with Adobe. So thank you very much, Adobe. Just to be sure, can you hear me clearly? Can you just unmute and see something?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you very much, Adobe. And I think we would start from you. We'll start with you, rather. So the first conversation is about careers in cloud. Careers in cloud. So we want to know, when we started this whole BaseStack Academy, I knew that the founder was particular about real world, like building with project, learning through building. So most times he calls us builders, right? So we built a whole lot. So we want to just know, why is building real world projects important for learners, and how can practical experience help them stand out when pursuing career opportunities in cloud computing?
Okay, thank you very much. So building reward projects is very important because that's the only way to get hands-on experience, right? That's the only way to get a feel of what it actually is when you work in the role, right? When you land the job and all of that. Because when you land the job, you're not going to be watching YouTube videos only. You're going to be building actual stuff, solving real problems, troubleshooting, doing the real work that actually impacts people's lives and businesses, right? Other than, because just watching videos doesn't give you that practical experience you need. And for some people, they get stuck just watching videos. But I think the combo, watching videos and practicing or implementing what you've done or what you've watched, is like one of the best combos that you could ever have in this space. So right, thank you. That's it.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Nothing beats hands-on. Nothing beats hands-on experience. And I really agree. I resonate with what you just shared now. I remember when we were working on our capstone project. I mean, there were a lot of challenges. I tell you, there were a lot of challenges, and I don't think we would have gotten there if we did not actually put ourselves into that project to say, okay, we
Yeah.
want to learn by building, right? If at all we're just
Mhm.
consuming content and just, I mean, everybody, there are thousands of resources out there, but then nothing beats building by experience. So thank you very much, Adobe, for that answer. The second question is, that one is a bit shaky, because
Okay.
we just want to know how the cloud careers, right? What opportunities are available today in cloud computing? I see them most times, and most times, one of the things that actually attracts me, it's just a personal thing. It's just the salary range. I mean, it's quite huge, right? Compared to a lot of other
Yeah.
other tech fields, right? So
Mhm.
what opportunities are available today in today's cloud computing world? And beyond technical skills, what qualities, habits, or traits do employers actually look out for in people that they want to employ? Yes, because we are all learning to be employable, so we just want to know. Thank you.
All right. So I'm just going to start with the first, right? What opportunities is it currently? So if you do not have any technical experience, yeah, I would really advise that you start from the beginning, from the entry level roles, from the internship and all of that. You can start from the internship, that's just learning behind people, right? That already know how to, or you can start from the entry level in terms of support roles, um assistants and all of that, right? So currently we have cloud support engineering. It just basically being that go-to guy where there's an issue and you're like, oh, okay, I can actually help check this out, right? Especially when there's like tickets, and just like customer support, but like, for the cloud space. Yeah, and this time you're fixing problems, not just attending to customers and say, oh, okay, I've seen this. No, you're going to find out what the issue is, maybe entering their servers or all of those things to find out what the actual problem is, right? And there's Kubernetes engineer, there's site reliability, there's a whole bunch of them. In fact, the roles are vast. There's DevOps as it is, right? There's a whole bunch of them. There's no defined one, right? But if you're able to narrow down your skills, if you're able to put down your skills together, you see that you actually fit in somewhere, regardless of what you know how to do. If you know how to use Azure really, really well, there's a job role for Azure. Just that for some of these for some of these roles, it's a combination of other roles together. They tell you, oh, you're doing this, but really you're not really doing that. You're doing other things inclusive, right? So just understanding your own parts helps you to blend into other parts, because really there's not just one particular role. In that role, there are other roles, right? So what's okay beyond technical knowledge, what qualities or habits do employers value the most? Communication. The thing is, there will always be issues, right? With the servers, with the IP addresses, with something, there will always be issues. But being able to communicate effectively to your team, like, okay, so this is the problem, right? How can we fix this? Is very, very important, because if we don't communicate, how then would they know that the server is down? How then would they know that there's an issue with a particular configuration or something? And the more time it takes, the more problem it becomes, because steps of security and all of that, it can really be very serious, right? And what else? I think that's the highlight. But it said not technical, but let me just include this: ability to solve problems, right? Having that mind that, okay, I need to solve this problem, and actually solving the problem is one of the skills that they look out for, because at the end of the day, all we're here to do is just solve problems, identify issues way before the customer or the company as a whole even discovers it, communicate, and then solve the problem. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Adobe. I actually agree to that. But then I'm curious. You mentioned DevOps. You mentioned Microsoft Azure. There are lots of newbies, right? That they don't really understand what these tools are. So maybe could you just briefly touch on these tools, or rather these roles? What is like a role, or rather, what does a DevOps engineer do? Something of that sort. Let's just know. Let's just get the gist.
Okay, so a development engineer is basically that person that make sure things are running. Yeah, but let's say automation. Basically, he makes sure. Say we have what do I use as an example? We have a particular thing, right? It keeps running and running and running where there's no need for a human hand. They basically automate the entire process of most of the things that happen in the cloud, right? Is it load balancing? Is it what basically? So DevOps is just that person that writes the scripts and does the whole automation, right? And when it comes to Azure, Azure is just a cloud tool. Like, you know how we have AWS. I'm very sure most of you must have heard about AWS before. AWS is just like Azure, right? It's just a tool that most companies use to host their cloud, to host their data basically, right, in the cloud. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that explanation. I think it's clear now. Before now, I used to see DevOps. I mean, research too. I've also researched it. And thank you. I think the explanation is even clearer. So I think we have Tolani now on the call. Tolani, just to be sure, are you still here? Are you here? Could you just unmute and say hi to the audience?
Hi everyone.
Hi, thank you. Thank you very much, Tolani. We're happy to have you here. Join us. Um, I'll just start by asking you a question, and it's about real life examples of cloud applications. Like, how this cloud thing that we are trying to understand, do you have like real world examples of how cloud technology works, right? And the impact on daily lives, on and why it has become so essential in today's world. Did you get my question?
Yeah, I got your question. Real world applications of cloud technologies. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right.
Like,
Uh, I can go ahead, right?
yes, you can.
All right. Thank you very much. Sorry for joining late. Currently in a meeting, but yes. Going to your question, there are definitely a lot of them, and one that came to mind as you asked the question is actually when it comes to IoT, to be specific in electric vehicles. Just citing the example, there are a lot of examples definitely, even that we use in our day-to-day lives. But one that is so exciting for me is electric vehicles. Electric vehicles is becoming gradually coming to Africa. Over time, I believe that to be something that would sit very well. So, in that case, now, electric vehicle, for instance, these vehicles they generate a lot of data because they have IoT in them, right? Generate a lot of data. The way cloud actually helps in that context now is that those data that are being generated, they're not just generated for just data sake. Those data are being uploaded to the cloud, right, through different services on AWS. But and then on AWS right now, you have a lot of services like SageMakers, Kinesis, a lot of them that can obviously take that data and run those data on models and be able to give insightful data that can, for instance, now let's say for instance, a logistic company, they have their vehicles, be it two wheels or tricycle, whatever, that are used to transport and deliver their goods, and they are electrical, they are EVs. If an electric vehicle is going to one destination to deliver something, based on those data, right, they can be able to know if the battery, for instance, that is powering the electric vehicle can take it to that destination. You can be able to determine the best route or the most efficient route for that vehicle to that's just an example, right? But there are a lot more examples that we see in our daily lives. For instance, even your bank apps, they are hosted on virtual machines managed by cloud engineers or DevOps engineers. So everything that we basically use right now, many of those things are managed in the cloud. So these are a few examples. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I agree that almost everything that we use currently, they're just run on the cloud because cloud is secure, cloud is elastic, cloud is, I mean, there's so much benefits to using the cloud. So I understand why companies actually migrate to the cloud. So thank you very much, Tolani, for your answer. The second question is, we just want to know, because there are a lot of beginners on this call. So we just want to know, what is the best way to start learning cloud computing? What foundational skills should they focus on as the beginners? And how can they navigate the many available resources? Because I know there are thousands of available resources out there without feeling overwhelmed.
All right, thank you for that question. It really resonates with me because that's one of my mission as a person, right? So, just like you rightly said, there are a lot of resources, and that is the era we are in. A lot of information are online. Even people who don't really know what they are doing are saying something. So, a lot of information online. And for me, what I would advise, just like I have been over the years, what I would advise anybody either beginning, starting their career, or even the transitioning or coming into the field and cloud space, then first, there are a lot of materials, no doubt about that, and you can easily get swamped in these materials and not going anywhere, no direction. So what I would first say is that you need to understand what it takes to become a cloud engineer, and that's and when I'm talking about the roadmap. Talking about the roadmap, there are things that you ought to learn. Why is that? Because as a cloud engineer or DevOps engineer, right, your day-to-day activities, there are tools, there are services that we use from time to time. So you need to be able to understand those things. Hence why it's on those practical, you know, day-to-day activities that you craft out your roadmap, right? Don't just craft out your roadmap because it's something that looks good, though, something that you would need for the job at the end of the day. So just to say a few of them, right, is definitely the first thing you would want to learn is Linux, right? Yeah, you can easily get these roadmaps on different websites. I would recommend the roadmap.sh, but Linux is the first thing you want to learn. So I can go on and explaining of this because this is actually my domain. So Linux, because 90%, 90 plus percent of the servers you would use as a cloud engineer would be a Linux servers. There are exceptions where you use Windows and the likes, but the Linux server dominates the cloud space. So you need to understand Linux. You need to understand not just how to use it, but what exactly, like the underlying infrastructure of Linux, the architecture of Linux. It gives you a better understanding. So apart from that, PowerShell scripting, because you definitely don't want to be typing Linux commands every single time to do the same thing. You want to be able to automate, which is one of the principles in DevOps and cloud. So you write shell script, meaning putting different commands to perform a certain result or a certain task just at once. And after doing that, you want to also be able to understand networking. Very key. Networking is very key when it comes to IP addressing, TCP and IP protocol, because these are things that drive the whole things in the cloud, right? You need to understand them. So that's something you would need to. People, a lot of beginners or a lot of people transfer, they get confused in networking, and it's not actually so confusing if you probably take enough time and have the right person to teach you. So that's another topic, that another domain you would have to look at, and on and on like that. If you are looking into DevOps, then you have to just look into Docker, Terraform, a lot of them. So I'll just pause at that point. But I was talking about how you navigate, right? Because a lot of people are learning. A lot of people really have a vivid understanding about what they're learning, right? They can demonstrate, they can build solid projects, and they can talk about the projects that they have built. They can talk about the business aspect. What does this project solve? How does this tool solve this problem? And that's the key point, because when you get to interviews or even speaking to stakeholders, you need to be able to understand what services you are using, or let's say the project you're building, what problem it solves, what value is added to the company. That is when you actually begin to speak the language of business, right? Not just an engineer. So what I would say in that case is that while learning something, right? While learning, let's say, for instance, as simple as Linux, that's why you need to understand. I ask myself 3 questions when I'm learning anything new. These 3 questions is what is this thing all about? And what that does for me is that it takes me to begin to do a lot of research about it, right? Find if you could have been taught about it, but on your own, do some research. What is this thing all about? What is Linux all about? Why are we using Linux? That begins to drive you to the history of Linux. Begin to see more knowledge about it. You can talk boldly on it and say a lot on it. Another question I ask myself is why do I need to do Linux? Why not something else? Because there are lots of ways to actually achieve one thing, right? The why drives it, your reason. So when you are talking about it, when you are using the tool, you know the reason behind it. I'm not just using it for using it. I'm not just using it to just achieve the result. No, I want to understand the reason behind it. And the third question is, how do I use it? What is the approach of, using this set? Because you can use Linux to do a lot of things. There are approaches to it. Two people can solve a problem in 2 different ways, but there's a more efficient way based on use case, right? So these are the things that you begin to look into when you are learning a concept, a tool, or anything. Something else I would love to say is that when learning anything, understand the concept, because the tools definitely change, right? They change, they evolve. Yesterday it was Docker, Kubernetes, today's AI, agentic AI. Next year to be something else, and people will keep following the trend. But if you understand the fundamentals, if you understand the concept behind all of these things, you can learn those things and add it on top of the fundamentals you already know. So you are not moved by the trend. Just obviously know your fundamentals, stick to it, and then when anything new comes in, check it out. Watch a few videos on it, do the documentations on it, build a project on it, and that's pretty much it. So what I would tell in just summary, right? Because I'm taking a little bit of time. Like I said, it's my domain, so I just speaking about it. Is that as you are learning, understand concept behind it, know why behind what you are learning. You're not just learning. As you are working, right? You are solving problems for the company. They are not hiring you to just demonstrate some of your skills. No, are hiring you to solve a problem, to reduce costs and things like that. So you have to think from that perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tolani. That was a very lengthy but valuable response. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, because your response was so spot on. Firstly, you mentioned that we need to understand the concept behind the tool, right? So you just start asking yourself questions. Why am I using this tool? How do I use it? These are like fundamental questions. As well, you also mentioned that we should master the fundamentals. And I think that is so spot on, because most times when you are able to master the fundamentals, you're able to build on it. right? You're able to build on it. So thank you very much. Another thing that you shared was demonstrate the projects that you work on. Share, like when you work, like ensure it's solving like a real problem, right? Employers will not just look for some, they will not just hire you because you can use Terraform or because you can use Docker, right? They will hire you because you understand it too and you can use it to solve their problems. So in that turn, you get value for that, and they also get value in return. So thank you very much, Tolani, for that very profound response. Thank you. The next question will be to Adobe. Adobe, we would like to know, as technology continues to evolve rapidly, how can learners continue to grow, remain relevant in the digital economy, and also avoid common mistakes when building digital skills or transitioning into tech? We just want to know how learners can grow, remain relevant, and avoid mistakes while when building digital skills or trying to transition into tech.
Thank you for that question. So one way I think learners can grow and stay relevant is one, do the hard things, right? Continuously do the hard things and document you doing the hard things, right? Like make the loudest noise about every single thing you get to do. If you're building a project, let the world know you're building a project, because visibility is one thing you need to have. The only way to stay relevant is to continuously show up while doing the hard things. Like when I say doing the hard things, I mean building that project, solving that problem, you know, networking, getting insights, collecting feedback, and all of those things. So that's one way to stay relevant, right? Because in today's world, you don't really know what's going on unless you're out there, right? So if you don't put yourself out there and you don't do things that want to make people to engage with you, how then can you know what's up? How then can you know what's going on and what's still trending and all of that? Right? Because with technology, there's AI now, so AI is changing things. Right now, some people don't even build things with their hand anymore. They build it with AI, and you need to know how to make use of these new tools that are coming up. Right? Don't just stick with your old one. Know how to use AI to make it work better. Know how to basically continuously get better at what you do, right? And stay visible, make the loudest noise. Because I mean, it's your work. Who would make the noise for you if you don't make it for yourself, right? So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adobe. I think I agree with that too. So you mentioned that we should do the hard things. We should put ourselves out there, be very visible, continuously do the hard work, put in the work, right? Network with people, network with your superiors, network with people who are more experienced in the field, right, that you're trying to transition into. Get better. Thank you very much, Adobe, for your response. I think we noted that, and we are going to put that into practice. Thank you. Tolani, the next question is for you. I know Adobe mentioned AI, and I know that we are all trying to catch up with AI. I mean, you can do something, and then they'll just tell you AI can replace junior engineers in the next in the next three years. I mean, there are some roles that will no longer be relevant, and sometimes it can be sad, but then it's just a way for us to just keep evolving and growing. So, I want to know how, as technology continuously, from a perspective, how is AI transforming the digital skills, education, and even career opportunities? And what skills do you believe, from your own perspective, will be increasingly valuable in the coming years? Did you get my question?
Kindly take it again, please. Just
Okay. I said, from your perspective, how is AI transforming the digital space? How is AI transforming career opportunities? How is AI transforming education? And what skills do you believe will still become valuable or will become valuable in the coming years
all
with the
right.
rise of
Thank,
AI? Yes.
okay, thank you very much for the question. That's a very good question. That's got a lot of issue on that. So the first thing is about AI. AI is actually doing a lot, right? People are using it to do a lot. I mean, a lot. I mean, a few years back, a few years ago, you couldn't if you would want to build a website, you needed, let's say, somebody skilled in web development and things like that to help you out. And then right now, you can easily go to different websites, like a lot of them, right? Uh, and a lot of people, many of them web big, and they just give you a good land page, even better than, sometimes better than what someone would have done for you. So we can evidently see how AI is helping, not just in productivity, but also being able to do things more better, right? But now, looking into the context of cloud and DevOps right now, where I am currently in, AI is doing a lot of things. I use AI, to do a lot of things. My pipelines, I generate them with AI. Not that, and this is the thing right here. And I would say it because I know there are definitely people going into the field and all of that, learning at this time. This is something that you need to understand. Even the CTO of Amazon spoke on this in the last what's the word? The last event, and we broke everything down. So the first thing is this: AI is should not be a threat to you. It should only be a threat to you if you don't understand your field well enough, right? Because in as much as AI is doing a lot of things, the people that understand their core field, right, will get more benefits. So, for a clear example, is Claude is changing the game. A lot of people are running from ChatGPT to Claude, for instance. But do you know that Claude are looking for software engineers that they can pay about 570, I think, thousand US dollars per year, right? Why are they looking for such people? It's because they are looking for people that are very skilled in their work, that they know their work in and out, right? People that can think critically to come into their company, AI company, right? They are looking for software engineers to come into their company and do what? And come and help them to build AI they can take the jobs of other people. Can you see that now? So what am I saying in essence is that is why I personally always stick to or always emphasize fundamentals. It's very key. There are things that will never change in this cloud space. Linux will never change. There's nothing Linux will not change because that's the foundation for everything. Things like you see use the cloud, these things are basic. Networking will not change. All right. So if you don't understand networking, for instance, and you want AI to help you, yes, AI can help you, right? But there are certain extent that I have seen personally that AI, and funny thing is about some AI can be stupidly what's the word? Stupidly, what's the word? Correct. It will tell you the wrong thing, it will tell you correctly because that's what it's designed to do. But I'm not saying that AI can help you. But there are times that I've used AI right now, let's say writing, trying to think critically on something, and I prompt it and it gives me something. I'm like, no, that's wrong. I will have to correct it. But I can't do that if I don't understand the field. So honestly, use AI, but don't what's the word? Don't outsource your thinking because critical thinking is something that is still needed. That can critically sit down, map out a plan, and look at it. Now, AI is meant to be like a junior engineer, so that you can send work. Okay, do this and do this and do this. You're meant to mastermind behind it, and you can't do that if you don't really understand the whole system. If you don't go deep, well enough into the fundamentals, you can't be able to do that. If all you are doing is you are using AI to do everything, then when you get into a problem, you have to use AI to solve the problem, and AI may create more problem for you, right? So all I'm saying is that focus on the fundamental. The field will keep evolving. That's how it has been over the course of decades, and it will continue to be. But people that are DevOps engineers right now, 5 years ago they were software engineers. They evolved. Now people are evolving into AI, the agentic AI engineers. They evolved again, but they had the root, they had the fundament, they had something that they were learning before that could allow them to evolve like that. You can't evolve without having something, they are standing on. So my advice would be to stick to the fundamentals. Obviously, you can learn a lot more things, but go deep enough that even when AI comes and all of those things, right? That's why personally, before, few years ago, I used to panic when there's a new change because obviously you're not demanding it. But right now, because I've understood all of this, I don't panic. I don't. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? I'm not saying it's not right to look at tech news. I know what's going on, but I'm saying that because I'm so confident about the fundamentals I know, and anything new coming, it's still going to be built on what I already know. So I can easily check it out, look at a few documentations on it, do a few projects on it, and get it done. I've done it several times, so it's what I know I can do, learn it and add it to it, right? Because if you don't get the fundamentals, as you keep rising higher in the field, you would begin to notice the loopholes that you have. And then you would have to come back to the fundamentals, because I've done it before. I had to come back all the way back to learn the basics again. And that's why, just do it right now. Focus on it. Take your time. You are not running the risk to anybody. Just take your time. Learn it well. All right? Because the way we are going now, with the AI now, there will be two different people, two distinctions of different people. It will be people that they have the tools, they can do things. Versus people that have the knowledge, they can think critically. That would be the two distinct between, as we are going in every shift now. People that they don't really know the stuff, they use type speed, but they can engineer and do things critically for them because they understand what they want to problem they want to solve. I think I will just round up at that point. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You shared more than enough. And yes, you hammered on the reason why we need to master the fundamentals. I mean, I've seen it play out a lot, and I agree to a very large extent. So thank you very much. Also, you emphasize on the need for critical thinking, asking the right questions, the ability to just understand the system first before even solving the problem. You just have to understand the problem that you want to solve first, right? Yes. You want to say something?
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Okay, let me chip in something very quickly.
Okay.
Is understanding the system is very important because what I do personally, because I have students I teach as well, all right, is that before you implement a solution as an engineer, and this is how it's done actually in enterprise organizations, you need to have a plan. There's something called algorithm for people that are writing code. But in cloud space, you need to have an architecture of what you want to do. Ideally, there's meant to be a solution architect that would design an architecture of how everything will be, what you want to implement, then give that architecture to a cloud engineer and DevOps engineer to go on and implement. So don't just say, oh, I know how to do Docker, then go on and spin up a virtual machine and run Docker. Yes, you will learn certain things, but you don't learn how it is being done, like ideally. So having a plan or an architecture of what you want to do, and that's where the critical thing actually comes, because you begin to ponder yourself, why do I need this service here? Why do I need this? Okay, how does this connect to this? You've done the whole thinking at the beginning stage. Then all you're just doing is just implement. The implementation in itself is not really the hardest part. It's the part where you have to sit down and think critically about why I need this service. How do I deploy this? Okay, what's the fastest way? You begin to think, right? So that's what I wanted to say. So that's what I do as well personally.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that addition. I mean, time is fast spent, but I just wanted to share one experience. While working on our capstone project, I remember Daniel made us draw like the architecture on paper, and he was like, make sure that you're able to visualize what you want to do first. So it took me a lot of time to first understand the problem that I was even trying to solve before solving. So I think that's just industry best practice, and it even helped me while working on that project. So thank you very much. I'll say encourage the audience to drop their questions if they have any in the chat, and we're wrapping up with the final question. Adobe, this is thrown to you, Antolani. I just want to know if there was one advice you would want to give. Adobe, you go first. Right? What advice will you give? What's that one advice you give a learner or a beginner or somebody who is also graduating from this cohort to, like, what advice will you give them on the next step they should take to continue learning, growing, and creating opportunities for themselves? Well, I need that question too. It's for the two of you. It's for you and Adobe. So Adobe, you can go first.
Okay, so I would say career roadmap. Have a plan for your career. Like, say the next 6 months, these are the things that I want to have achieved. Because I know that now you guys are just finishing out fresh, right? Give or take, you have projects ready done or not. But you need to have a career roadmap. Say, okay, so this next 6 months, I'm going to be working on this. And by the next 6 months, I want to be job ready. You might give yourself enough time to gradually enter the space, but without a roadmap, it gets a bit confused. right? And don't just study scatteredly. Don't just watch videos. Don't just move from here to here or build project. No, you need to have a plan, right? Because if you don't have a plan, you might not even know the things that you've completed and the things that you've not. Because if you're doing everything halfway, you're not a master of any. But if you're able to follow through with a particular plan that, okay, in this first 3 weeks, I'm going to do this and I'm going to complete this, right? That way, you're not coming back to it later to say, oh, I don't really know this one. I don't really, you've done it already, you're true. So having a plan for basically everything that has to do with your new career is one way to go. That's my advice to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adobe. Have a plan. Everybody, don't just learn scattered. Have a plan. Have a particular roadmap to follow. I like to say, have a destination in mind, but everything is just a journey. So thank you very much, Adobe. Tolani, over to you. What's that one advice you would like to give beginners on how they can continue learning, growing, and creating opportunities for themselves in this field?
All right. So my advice actually to I think everyone graduated from this cohort. This actually is a very key one and it's about your mindset. Is that you've gone through this whole program. I believe you've learned quite a number of things, review some projects along the way. There's always this stuff of I feel like I don't know enough. I need to go and learn more. Definitely, learning continues. That's one aspect. But with what you've learned, all right, if you truly put your mind to what you've learned so far, I can tell you that you are valuable. Yes, you are valuable. And that's not to say that there are not people that know more than you. There are people that obviously know more than you, and you don't just they have to learn from them. But with what you are valuable because I believe that most of you are looking into getting into having a job, a role, one thing or the other, or even probably building your own academy. I don't know. But the key thing I want to give to you is that you are valuable enough. What you have learned so far, if you truly have learned it and you really understand it, is enough to give value to somebody else, right? Because and you begin to go for interviews or whatever opportunities, there's this self-doubt that can come to your mind. This imposter, I don't know enough. I think I don't know enough. No, no, no. You actually do with what you've learned so far. You do know something that is valuable enough. Except if you have not really understood what you've been taught, then probably you have to go back to sit with it properly, right? But have this orientation. If you truly have learned the little thing you have, you can speak about it with boldness. You can speak about it whether in a meeting, online, whatever. Speak about it with boldness. And I'm going to give a simple just story because I know that you guys are graduating. I've had interviews startups, and then I went through the different phases of interviews, project manager, HR, and all of those things to the CEO, and everyone keeps asking me. They will keep, there's this asking you questions. What do you know? Like when we talk about a project, they'll begin to ask a few questions. What I do is I don't do so much. I just pick a solid project that I have worked on, a solid one, know the in and out, talk about it confidently. And you can't talk about it confidently if you don't really understand. That's why I keep hammering understanding what you need to do. Because if you keep talking about what you don't really know, then somebody will come to ask you questions about what you know, what you think, what you have said you know, and you explore. Then that's just a total mess, which I've experienced before. And I talked about this project, finished everything. The confidence being talked about is enough to take you, like for them to just basically know that this guy knows what he's saying and it's valuable. We need him in this our organization. So what am I saying in open? I'm saying is that be confident of what you know. Open your mind to continue learning because that's the feedback. You have to continue learning. But what you know so far is capable of helping you to get a role. If you truly can talk about it, demonstrate it. So that's what I will leave you guys with. Thank you very much. I
Thank
would have to
you.
go.
Thank you, thank you. That's a valuable lesson, or rather, a valuable advice for everyone. So, everybody, that one that you know, hold it tight. Trust me, it is valuable. Don't think, oh, I don't know so much, or I don't know enough, right? That one that you know, so when you're able to demonstrate confidently, speak on it, know it in and out, know the in and out of the whole, of the entire project that you build, then I think you'd be able to make progress in your career. Thank you very much, Tolani and Adobe, for this very, very enriching conversation. I mean, I learned so much. I jotted down a whole lot. So thank you very much. I think there are a few questions in the chat. So because of time, maybe I'll just merge a few of them. I think some of them have been touched on. We have one from Wukora Ejikeme, and he said he has learned some tools, right? So he said Git, GitHub, Linux, AWS. That's a lot. All I need is a live project I can work on. I think BaseStack Academy actually solved this problem. So we'll be having conversations, or rather, we'll be having announcements later on in the call. So I will keep your question for that time. What are those mistakes learners make when taking a step in tech, and how do we avoid them? I think we touched on a question like that. Adobe mentioned that you just need to do the hard things. I mean, when you start, that's how you'll be able to know the mistakes now. When you start, you mistakes are bound to happen, right? A lot of you are meant to break things, you're meant to fix things. So the most important thing is just starting. Just starting. So Adobe, yeah, I see you want to touch on something.
Yes, so there's no way to completely avoid them, right? Grace, there's no way to completely avoid them. But one thing I would always say is look at people that have done it. What mistake did they make? They know how to avoid the mistake that they have made. Because the truth is, you still make your own mistake, but it's only cool if you see what people have done, or pick what you can pick from their do's and don'ts, and then you do the do's instead of making the same mistake they've made again. Because that's the reason why they went before you. They made the mistake. There's no need for you to repeat it. Just make your own mistakes and move on.
Thank you very much, Adobe, for that touch on. So, Grace, I hope your question has been answered. We have one from Yusuf. I'm looking at the time. We have one from Yusuf. Yusuf said, "What's the role of a DevOps cloud and platform engineer?" I think Adobe touched on DevOps, but Adobe, would you like to, or Tolani, any of you, would you like to just briefly touch on the role? I know that this is something that is Google search. Google search can actually solve, but could you just share maybe like 1 minute to just share like what the role entails for DevOps cloud and platform engineers? Thank you.
Since it's Tolani's field, I don't know if Tonali wants to take that.
Tolani, would you like to take that?
All right, I would just like to say, I know I end up saying a lot.
A few minutes, so please.
Okay, so I'm trying to reason why the person is asking, because I feel like that's something you can start to browse online and just get the answer. And I'm trying to think there's a deeper reason why the person is asking. That's why it's making me to think. But generally, cloud engineers they basically help in building cloud infrastructures. So like I said, if you have an architecture of, let's say, a project that needs to be implemented, the cloud engineer will obviously understand the services on this cloud provider, for instance, AWS, and they help in setting them up, right? So for the DevOps person, because these two roles they go hand in hand. For me, I'm both, right? Because as a DevOps person, you need to learn cloud computing, but obviously, it may not be to the extent to which a cloud engineer would have to learn it. So for me, I do the part of setting up the cloud infrastructures like servers, services that needs to be used for the project, and also go on to building, developing pipelines, a lot of things actually. Your roles can actually can differ based on where you work. To be very honest, in like organizations, you may do little. In startups, you do everything. You do the security person. So that question is wide, but just wrap it up. That's what I'm going to say on that. So just depends on what they give you. You can even in a startup, you can be the person to do everything from scratch. So you just have to know the environment you are, what project you are trying to solve, and you know what to do from there.
Thank you very much. Yusuf, I hope that answered your question. But I'll say a query that you still go online, in addition to what Tolani has shared, you still go online to like search these things in depth. So I also believe that it is peculiar to, or rather your role is peculiar to the kind of organization that you work with. So thank you very much, Tolani. And Yusuf, I hope your question was answered. We have one from Ibka. Unfortunately, I'm looking at the time and God, the questions keep coming. But yes, Ibuka said, good day, everyone. I'm also a self-learner, but I would love to be in the community. I mean, that's what BaseStack Academy is here. Like I said, there's an announcement that we'll be sharing in the coming time. So just stay tuned to the end. Another is what types of cloud projects best demonstrates practical BaseStack. I mean, all of these questions are there are things that you will be seeing. I even need to mention that we will have some of our learners, that's the people who just finished in cohort one, we'll have them present their project. So you get to see what they actually worked on, and you see that these projects are quite valuable. So I look forward to that time anyways. Is Udemy course a good roadmap for BaseStack has a very I keep redirecting everything to BaseStack because I mean there's an interesting announcement. So thank you very much everybody for your question. Thank you very much for joining the conversation. I think this was quite interactive. Yes, like I said, there will be a link to join the community soonest. So thank you very much everybody for your time. I had thank you very much Olani, thank you very much Adobe for the conversations that you shared. I'm so happy. I mean, like I mentioned, there were lots of things. There were lots of nuggets that you could share. Very, very valuable. Thank you very much, BaseStack Academy too, for also organizing this because I don't think we would have been able to get this if not for this platform. And also thank you to yourselves for also joining and staying till this time. So I think we'll move on to the next agenda of the program, which is my most favorite part, and it is the project showcase, right? Daniel, next slide, please. The project showcase. So, like I mentioned, we're going to have our students, that's people who were part of the cohort one, right? They will come and they will share all of the things that they learned over or rather the projects that they built. Like I said, these projects are quite valuable because you were solving like a real world problem. And guess what? There was no guide. It was just you face your problem and just fix it and just document your process, right? And that like I said, that project, it challenged me a whole lot, but I was really grateful for the experience. So you get to hear from our learners, right? So we have three project scenarios, and each of them are going to just be sharing based on what they worked on. So I think the first person I would be calling up to make his presentation is the first scenario, which is Olupe 2.0. And we have Victor Echeb. He's going to be the one presenting that case study. You just see how he solved the problem, what he did, the challenges that he faced, and the lessons learned. Victor, are you on the call? I can't even see you. I mean, you have the floor to make your presentation. Just start by sharing your screen. You have about 5 to 7 minutes to make your presentation. So please, time is fast, friends. We can just quickly wrap it up. Thank you very much, Victor. I look forward to an amazing time with you. Thank you. Victor, are you still here? Oh, Victor is not here. I think because of time, we'll have to move over to the next presenter, which is Ogini Oluwaseyi. Yeah, you're on the call. Let me check. Yes, she is on the call. Jay, over to you to make your presentation. She worked on EduTrack Nigeria. So she is going to just be showing you a glimpse of the problem that he solved, the tools that he used, as well as the challenges and the lessons learned. Shay, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just share my slides. Sorry, so can everyone see the slides?
Yes, yes, we can.
All right. So, good day, everyone. My name is Ogini Oluwaseyi. Today, I'm excited to walk you through my capstone project for EduTrack Nigeria. Now, EduTrack Nigeria is an educational contract that requires a highly resilient, scalable student management platform. And the platform, this EduTrack platform, is required to handle over 500 universities, 3 million students, and over 250 staffs. Now, the main goal of the project was to design a platform that was capable of securely handling over all the 500 universities at once. All the 500 universities are sharing one AWS system. All the resources or all the universities are going to share one AWS system or platform. So the main goal, the main challenge of the project was to separate them to make sure all the universities were securely isolated from each other, so that a university, like let's assume a university like Unilag and a university like Uniben are using this particular platform. Now, a student of Uniben should not be allowed to see the data or the information of a student in Unilag. So they must be securely isolated from each other. And also the project must be for data sovereignty rules. The platform must be made in Africa. And the only data center in Africa is currently in Cape Town. That's AF South 1. So the architecture of my project was basically is a hybrid architecture. That's a 6-layer architecture that comprises of foundation identity. That's the VPC, that's your virtual private cloud. That's your particular share of the cake in AWS. That's your own personal piece of the cake of AWS services. And then IAM, identity and access management. That's each user will have an IAM user with all the security group. Then the next layer was the compute and scaling. What is Elastic Compute Cloud? That's the EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. That's basically your own personal server, your own personal computer in the AWS, in the cloud. And we worked with application load balancer. That's basically to ensure that one particular server is not overloaded is not overloaded, and there's appropriate distribution among the servers. And we also worked with serverless. Now, serverless is basically running codes without you necessarily managing the servers. The servers are going to be managed by AWS. So all you need to worry about is just your code and building your service. Then we also have the database. That's basically what stores the database. And this is my architecture diagram here. This is my architecture diagram that shows all the layers very well. Now, as you can see, the whole project is basically in AF South 1 with a VPC. Inside my VPC, we have two subnets. We have 4 subnets, 2 private and 2 public. The private subnet is for holding the database and your EC2 servers. And the public subnet is to hold the application load balancer. Now, this is basically a deep dive into each of the foundation, each of the layers. As I said, we use 2 availability zones with 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets. Now, for the elastic and compute, the compute and elastic scaling, that's working with the application load balancer. As I said, the application load balancer is basically what distributes the traffic, that's the incoming traffic, to ensure that one server is not overloaded and crash. So it's basically adjust the number of traffic that's entering each server. And we also have the autoscaling group. Now, autoscaling group is basically a rule that increases or decreases the number of servers based on the traffic. So if the traffic is high, it will increase to spin up new servers to handle the load. If the traffic is low, it's going to scale down. It's going to reduce the traffic, the amount of EC2 servers to reduce cost. Now we also dealt with the database. Now the database, this is the main, I guess, the main part of the whole project. That's the database. And for my structured database, I used Aurora MySQL. Now AWS provides over 15 plus database services, but for this particular project, I used Aurora MySQL for the structured user and staff data. That's basically the staff logins and user logins and basically all that things. Now, then for the students' transcripts and result lookups, I used DynamoDB. Now, this is where the main challenge of the project was where I encountered the main challenge. That's to ensure that all the universities are completely isolated from each other. We used DynamoDB. Now, DynamoDB is basically makes use of partitions. Partitions is basically that making each university have their own partition, their own data in one location, so that all the data of each university are securely separated. And the partition, we have the partition key. Partition key is basically the name of the partition. I use the university ID. And for the sort key is how we arrange inside that partition. How do we arrange each student or each profile in that particular partition? Now that's student ID. So the student identification number is basically how we separate different students in one particular university. Now, the core engineering choices I took, the main engineering choice, as I said, was to use DynamoDB to make boundaries between all the universities at the database level. Now, for the final tier was event-driven pipeline. The serverless pipeline. For the serverless pipeline, to reduce the response time for our platform for registration processes, we decoupled the entire process into two separate Lambda functions. Now, Lambda functions are basically what holds the code. So we use two separate Lambda functions. Now, the first Lambda function was registration Lambda. That's just registration logic. That's basically what just runs the registration code, drops a message at the SQS. That's the simple queue service. The queue service basically just holds and delivers messages. And after it has run that and delivered to SQS, it then edits the DynamoDB table and returns a response to the user. Now, this is the API request. This is what triggers the Lambda function. So once this is run, the Lambda function is triggered and the process is working. Now, this is my DynamoDB table before the Lambda has been invoked. Now, and this is the table after it has been invoked. As you can see, a new item has been added to this particular table. That's the Diron Kayode that we invoked. Now, and this is the final images. For the second Lambda is the notification logic. That's what basically delivers or sends out notification that yes, this particular person has registered at your university, and this is the email. Now, the main challenge I experienced was downloading and installing my SQL for my database. As I said, my database is securely stored in my private subnet. So that means internet access cannot be able to penetrate that particular server subnet. So how can I actually download and install my SQL for that particular, to bypass that particular? I made use of VPC endpoint. Now VPC endpoint is basically a way for AWS services to communicate with each other without internet gateway, without public IP address. Just for internet, for VPC, for AWS resources to communicate with each other. VPC resources. Now, the main thing I learned was CloudWatch. I was able to enter CloudWatch and I was able to analyze and detect problems of everything I did. Now, for my summary, what I was most proud of, as I said, successfully building this project. When I first saw it, I thought it was very it was very complicated. How do we separate universities and all that? So me actually doing that, I was actually very proud of that. And what I'll improve, I would actually like to, the main thing, whether next up, I'll try to use Aurora serverless. That's a serverless for Aurora. That's for something that can actually just, instead of me manually scaling the database, it will just automatically scale it based on the real-time demands. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shay. Thank you. I mean, the time, but overall, well done. That was a brilliant presentation. I know that our non-technical people that are beginners in cloud, they're like, oh my God, we're sorry. So, I mean, but overall, I think that was a very, very brilliant presentation. Thank you very much, Shay. Because of time, we'll just be moving to the next speaker, which is Emmanuel Idebweni. So Emmanuel worked on Logi Hall project. So Emmanuel, please, time. Thank you, because time is already fast spent.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
All right. Okay. Thank you for. I'm just going to be sharing my screen in this page. All right. Please confirm that you can see my screen. My screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Emmanuel, and I am presenting my cloud engineering capstone project. I worked on scenario C, that's Logihall option, a pan-Nigerian logistics platform supporting over 5,000 truck drivers across the 36 states of Nigeria. The objective was to design a cloud architecture that is secure, scalable, highly available, and cost-effective while handling unpredictable traffic spikes of up to 50 times the normal demand. Now imagine a nationwide delivery company running a big promotion or responding to an emergency, a surge. Suddenly, thousands of customers start placing orders at once. If the system can't handle the increase, orders could be delayed or even lost, and this will frustrate customers and lead to a drop-off. My challenge was to design a system that could automatically handle those busy periods, protect customer information, and still keep operating costs under control. I designed a cloud architecture where every part has a specific responsibility. Customer requests come into the application, they are processed by the web servers, and then stored in the appropriate databases. Tasks like sending notifications happen in the background instead of making customers wait. I also built the system so that in the so that if demand suddenly increases, it can automatically add more computing resources, and when traffic drops, it scales back down to reduce costs. This means that the platform stays responsive without wasting any resources. This is a picture of the architecture. You see the different layers, the network layer, the computing layer, the storage layer, the data layer, the serverless and events layer. And all of these were designed in such a way that the the end result was in mind. Every decision I made was based on solving a business problem. I secured sensitive information by controlling who could access the system, encrypting important data. To improve reliability, I designed the application so that if one server becomes unavailable, another one can continue serving customers. To handle sudden spikes in demand, I use services that automatically scale without requiring manual intervention. This is made possible with the auto scaling and with services like the DynamoDB on demand. I also made cost a priority by choosing services that only consume resources when they are actually being used. So this slide shows the flow the API gateway receives a request, it is passed through to the load balancer, and the load balancer channels it to the right resource, EC2 or the DynamoDB, and it gets sent to the SQS queue. I'll be demonstrating what the solution really does. We see the VPC and the network isolation. We'll see auto scaling. We'll see the CloudWatch dashboard, and we would see an API request. So this is my VPC. It has the public subnet and the private subnet. The public subnet is where the bastion host and the public server sits, while the private subnet is where the databases and the app server sits. This is done because we do not want the databases to be accessed from the internet, and this is one of the layers of security that I put in place. And to communicate with the VPC, there is the internet gateway and the NAT gateway. This is the auto-scaling groups. Auto-scaling groups was created to manage the number of compute resources deployed at a particular time with the minimum and the maximum threshold. Minimum was 2 and the maximum was 10 to handle peak traffic. This ensures that at every point in time, there is optimum compute resources to handle demand. And this is my CloudWatch dashboard. This basically tells me what I need to know about my resources, the EC2 CPU utilization, the Lambda invocations, and the databases. So looking at this, I can tell if something is off with my resources and go and rectify it immediately. And lastly, this is a depiction of a request being sent through the API. We see details like the order ID, customer ID, driver ID, and the delivery status. And when this is pushed, the customers get a notification and the database record is updated in the background. The challenges, the biggest challenge I had was working within AWS free tier. Some production features weren't available, so I implemented the closest practical solution and clearly documented how the production version would be designed. This taught me that cloud engineering isn't about using every available service. It's about making smart decisions based on the resources and constraint at hand. By the end of the project, I had built a solution that can automatically scale during busy periods, keep customer information secure, monitor its own performance, and remain cost effective. This project helped me to understand how different AWS services work together to build real-world applications. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Let me give you a clap. 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 Thank you very much, Emmanuel. I mean, that was brilliant. It was brilliant because I mean I worked on the same project and we could tell the effort that needed, right? To just understand networking, understand the fundamentals, just understand the whole working principle behind the project to just bring it to a reality. So thank you very much for sharing. I don't know if our participants or rather our audience, they have one or two questions for you. Do you have any questions? Let me check the chat. Let me check the chat. So far, none. I mean, I won't say it's expected anyways, but I hope even though you did not learn something, at least you learned things like scale up, scale down, that's elasticity. You learned how to, or rather you learned that private, or rather your database should be stored in the private subnet, all of that, so that they will not have, or that the public will not have access to it. So that's sucks. Oh, Grace, thank you. You want to ask a question? You can unmute and speak. Grace, you can unmute and speak. Oh, you raised your hand. Would you like to, because of time, would you like to just drop? I don't
Okay,
know.
good afternoon.
Okay, good
Can you hear
afternoon.
me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead and ask your
Okay.
question. We can hear you.
I heard while the first speaker was pitching his capstone project, I overheard him saying something like serverless. What are all those things? I've never heard of them before.
I mean, thank you very much for your question. Um, Emmanuel, yes, you would like to briefly explain serverless because I think that people are going to, if you enroll in the cohort, right, you get to understand this thing in depth, because I know that our academic director was very hands-on with us, and we got to build something to even understand this concept. But Emmanuel, you can just briefly touch on it. Thank
All
you.
right. Good afternoon. Now when we say serverless, it simply means that first, it's a managed service. Second, you do not have to worry about technical details. So, for example, if you want to deploy, let's say, a service that would handle a certain amount of traffic, right? You would have to calculate this configuration I'm using. So, for example, now let's say you want to design, right? You would need a laptop that has enough power in terms of processing power, graphics power to design, right? So what serverless simply means is if you were to use a serverless option for that, you won't even have to worry about exactly what you're using. All you have to do is come with your code or come with your work and use it, right? And that's just the best or the simplest way can be explained. Serverless simply means you are not deploying anything specific, right? In terms of configuration, in terms of specification, you are just coming with what you are bringing as your own work, right? It could just be like maybe you're trying to cook and I'm telling you, oh, use my kitchen, right? You don't have to worry about the gas. You don't have to worry about the cooker. You don't have to worry about the blender. All you are doing is bringing maybe your ingredients, and that's serverless for you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, for that explanation. And Grace, I hope you really understood. That was like the simplest explanation, yes, that you would use to understand what serverless actually means. Yes, so thank you very much, Emmanuel, for that. It shows that at BaseStack Academy, I mean, there's a lot of trainings that goes in behind the scenes. So thank you very much, Emmanuel. I think we're going to be moving to the next session, which is quiz. I mean, we want to see people who paid attention, want to see people who really understood the concepts, because I believe that these concepts were taught in like a very relatable manner. So we just want to see people who actually paid attention to the end. And again, I need to mention that there is there are prizes for the winner. So if I were you, I would give it my best shot. So I just shared a Google form now in the chat. This Google form, if you click on it, it has like a list of questions. This form is not going to be open for a long time. So just go there, say give your answers. At the end of everything, we get to know the winner or the winners, and then afterwards there will be a prize announced for the winners, and I'll keep that till the end. So we're almost wrapping up, and I think the next on the agenda is Daniel, could you just put up this? Yes, the next on the agenda should be community updates. Thank you. I know a lot of people were saying, I want to join the community. I want to join the community. I mean, this is your session. This is why we're here, right? This is what we're here for. I know initially, or if you started the conversation from the beginning, Daniel had mentioned, that's the academic director. He had mentioned that there were 100 slots this time, or for cohort 1, and about 86 participants actually engaged from day 1. 50 completed it to the end, and only 20 were certified. That's like 20%, right? So it tells you that this is a very intensive program. And guess what? We're opening the community again for cohort 2. Cohort 2 is going to start sometime in August, right? And we are opening the community. So I'll be sharing a link yet again, so you can join the community. We're looking at taking just 80 students. Only 80 students. I know a lot of you were asking, I mean, I need real life projects. Guess what? In BaseStack Academy, we build. I tell you that most times they call us builders. In fact, it's never most times, every time they call us builders. Why? Because for everything that you learn, you get to build. And do you know what our experts panelists mentioned? I mean, the only way to learn is actually to learn, or the best way to learn is actually to learn by building. And that is the approach that we take at BaseStack Academy. So if you click on this link I shared on the in the chat, right, there's a WhatsApp community that you can join. And like I mentioned, we're looking at enrolling, or rather just getting 80 students for cohort 2. And these 80 students, right, they are going to be paying a discounted rate of 10,300. I doubt you can see this offer anywhere. I really doubt. Why? Because it's so much value. It's so much. I mean, you get to meet a community of like-minded people. You get to be trained. You get to work hands-on. Imagine building daily. I mean, for a discounted rate, if I were you, I would jump on that. Right. So we are opening the community for everyone. So everyone, if you want to start out in cloud, if you want to understand it, if you want to build, I mean, just you can just join our community. So thank you very much, everybody, for staying up to this time. I don't know if there are questions. I actually have questions for participants too. And my questions always come with a prize. So I just want to know if anybody is comfortable enough to just share one or two, not really one or two, because there were more than one or two things that were said here. So just share like the biggest takeaway from this entire session. What did you get to learn? Somebody who is confident enough. I mean, everybody's confident, but somebody who really wants to share what they learned. I mean, the floor is open. Would you like to share? You can just raise your hand and I'll give you permission to speak. Like I said, everything that I do, it comes with a prize. So I'll not tell you what, I will even tell yourself. Whoever, the winner, right? Whoever says, or whoever gives me a very, 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 very good response will get like a free slot to learning at the academy. So it's something that you actually want to jump on. That's for cohorts. Who's raising their hands? Or is it a chat? Who is raising their hands? Okay, nobody. I mean, if you want to just speak and just get that slot, you can just share what you've learned today throughout the course of this 1 hour 37-minute conversation. I'm only opening this offer for like 30 seconds afterwards. Okay, great. Mabel, you can speak.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yeah, so one thing that stayed with me, because I don't really understand the terminologies used, because I'm actually a beginner. So, but one thing that stayed with me was when Akitaya said to be able to understand, when he was talking about AI and all that, that to be able to survive in this space, you have to have good knowledge about your field. So I think that stayed with me. And him saying that AI, those that know how to use AI and those that have good knowledge, foundational knowledge about it, those are two different people. And those that have good knowledge about it are those that can survive the times and the paradigm shifts that AI will be experiencing over time. I think those two messages were something that stayed with me, and I know I'll be using this knowledge and this advice even when I start exploring how to use cloud. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you. Do you have interest in learning cloud? I just want to know. Cloud?
Yes, I do.
I mean, you have just earned yourself a slot. So you just
All right.
yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I mean, you can. I think we'll be following up on. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to ask you to drop your phone number, but you're joining the community. Just join the community, and then we get to follow up with the conversation with you, and then see what goes. You see, when I tell people to take opportunities, take it, grab it. So maybe I've just secured something very valuable, and I hope that you get to make the most out of this opportunity. And I mean, in a few months, you get to build, you get to understand how systems work, you get to even you know what Tolani said, right? That one that hold it tight, and you're able to like demonstrate what you know. So I hope we have also taken the quiz, though, because there's also prizes. I think the prizes are also the same sponsorship, right? For the first three, just three. So we expected you to pay attention and then give us correct answers. Daniel, I hope the form is no longer open because it's already. Daniel, close that form. Close the form. So we'll not give, we'll know everybody. I mean, this is something very valuable. But overall, I hope we had a very, very good time because I did. I learned so much. I connected with a lot of you. I connected with Adobe and Tolani. I mean, it was such a beautiful conversation. Thank you very much for having me, and I remain the host for this event. And Daniel, I think the next one is just a closing remark, and it's be given by the program coordinator Daniel Akirimadi. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Neoma, and it's done. It's Akiramade. I guess this is the wrap for today's showcase. And before we go, I want to say a few things that is worth sitting with. I started with some numbers. I said 470 applied, and we dished out 100 seats, and 53 of those people made it to the end, and only 20 met every requirement to be certified. Now, the pictures you just watched in the student showcase, they came out of that group. They were real AWS infrastructures that was designed, built, and presented by people who didn't just finish the program. They earned their way through it. Everybody who spoke on this call, they actually built a project. And I want to say this to our cohort graduates. What you built and presented today it's not a class project. And when I say proof, it is proof that you can take a business problem and break it down and ship something real with it. And that skill doesn't just stop mattering after today. It is the whole game from this place. It's what your future looks like from this point on. And to every one else watching who is still figuring out where to start, how to start. Well, you don't need to have it all figured out. Just like the panelists say, you don't need to have everything figured out when you just begin. All you just need to just do is just pick one thing, start building, and let the learning happen along the way. So learning happens along the way. You don't have everything figured out on the first day. And every person on that, on the panel session earlier, and everyone who presented today, they started exactly where some of us are as beginner. They started where some of us are as beginner. And finally, I want to say thanks to our panelists, that is Mr. Tolani and Ms. Adu, for their time and their honesty. And I also want to say thank you to our graduates for putting in the effort, for putting in the work. And I also want to say thank you to all of you who showed up and staying curious for the last hour and 43 minutes. So I want to say thank you for being here.
Thank you, Daniel. You did not say thank you to the host. How sad.
No.
Anyway, I will take my own
Thank
thank you.
you.
I mean, I had a very amazing time here. Thank you very much, everybody, for just taking out time from your busy schedule to join. And I hope we gave you value for your time. I saw some comments like I truly enjoyed this session. I mean, yes, because we know that your time is valuable, so we put out something very valuable. You know, What about the quiz, Henry Wanko? You know, enter the quiz. But anyways,
For the quiz, yeah, I think I've I've gotten some responses
okay.
to
So
the
we'll
winners.
follow up, right? We'll follow up with the winners,
Reach out to
right?
the
Okay, okay, great. So with about the quiz, we're going to be following up with the winners. Currently, the form is closed because I told you it was going to be open for just a few minutes. Yes. Thank you very much, Adam Mohammed. The session is amazing. I'll receive my flowers. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Like I mentioned, thank you very much for taking out your time to join. I think we have come to the end of the session. I look forward to seeing you in the community. All of you that keep saying, how do I join the community? I want to see you there. I noted some names. What's his name again? I noted some names anyways, and then I would really love to see you all there so we can all learn and grow together. Thank you very much. Let me give myself thumbs up. It's not easy. But yeah, it's bye from my